Hey everybody, how's it going? Jordan Orell here, making my daily video about circumcision, and today I want to make a very basic video for people who may not know about this issue, to try to sort of introduce the topic of why infant circumcision is wrong, why it's a bad thing to do, and we should never ever be doing it. Because most people know circumcision is the surgical removal of the human foreskin from the male when he's born, usually within hours or a day or two after he's born. And it's done ostensibly for medical reasons, though there are almost no medical benefits or no medical benefits, or for cultural reasons, which isn't really a very, very good argument, in my opinion, because what circumcision does, it's, people think of it as a little snip, or it just removes a little piece of tissue that doesn't do anything, when in fact what it actually removes is about this much skin from an adult male, about half the skin on the penis. For me it would be quite a bit larger, but it removes a large amount of tissue from a man. It's actually most of the nerve endings in the penis are in the foreskin. Pretty much all of the fine touch nerve endings. Those are the ones that feel really, really, really good. Just ask men who have been circumcised as adults. They can tell you that the foreskin is the best part of the penis. It was done originally to curb sexuality, to try to prevent masturbation, which it certainly does make much less pleasurable. And it's done to harm sexuality. That's the whole entire history of it, up until very recently, when sexuality became okay in the United States, which by the way is the only country who does it, who's a developed nation who does it for supposedly medical reasons. There's a couple other countries who do it for religious reasons, but really we're pretty much the only ones who pretend like there's actually a valid reason. And so most of the world doesn't circumcise. We're the only ones who really do it, and we justify it with these medical lies. Basically, it's so absurd, the medical arguments, if you really look into them. I'm not even going to waste any time with that, or with the supposed hygiene benefits. You can argue the same for female genital mutilation. Sure, if you cut off tissue, there's less to clean, I guess. And that doesn't really justify cutting off part of a baby's genitals. It's wrong because it removes something from a man that he may want later in life. And then for some people like me and many others who watch this channel, many other men who I know, and a number of men that's rapidly increasing, they really, really, really hate it. A lot of men don't mind it very much because they just don't know very much about it, but as studies show, men who actually know what it is, know what it does, who have studied it, who have understood what the frenulum, the ridge band, the inner foreskin, all the important parts of a man's body that are removed, that perform extremely important sexual functions, men who actually understand this are really, really, really upset about it. And again, people are becoming educated very quickly now, and very soon we'll reach a point where there are millions and millions and millions of men who are traumatized to the highest degree, who see this as male genital mutilation, actually, and to experience it as the most fundamental violation of human rights, a removal of their pleasure, of the most pleasurable aspect of themselves. And so that's what we're really facing here. People don't cognize it because it's a child, because you don't think of it as sexual, because of tradition that just says it's okay, from dating back to the Victorian era when they said, yeah, it prevents masturbation, it's great, that's why we do it. And then, somewhere along the line, that communication started to change, and we started to justify it with other reasons. But the real reason is to damage our sexuality, and that's what it does. And so a man can always choose to get circumcised when he's an adult if he wants, but parents have no right to take that choice from him, to take part of his body from him, to take something that isn't really a choice. For most men, they don't think about, oh, I want to get part of my body cut off. No, most men, like the vast majority of men as adults who keep their whole bodies, decide to continue keeping their whole bodies. They don't think about it as something that they might want to do, because it's a really great thing that they have, is to have your whole penis. Like, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone a little bit, trying to get this message across to you that I live in a culture where this is actually considered normal to cut off part of your penis. But it's not normal, it's not okay, it's not acceptable. It's really painful for the men who have to experience this and have to look at the scar on their penis every day, think about how much pleasure they're missing, who experience a lot of sexual difficulties, who have pretty severe depression oftentimes, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, inability to enjoy sex, actual hatred of sex, of what's supposed to be the best feeling thing in the world, complete estrangement from their parents. A lot of men I know don't talk to their parents anymore, can't have a relationship with them because they're so hurt by this. The list goes on. Hatred of religion. I've heard a lot of men come to hate religion because of this, because of the Jewish and Muslim aspect of it, and men who were perfectly tolerant before. That's what trauma does. It makes you go crazy. It makes you unable to see the forest for the trees, because you are so obsessed with this horrible thing that's happened, and you become completely unable to deal with life. And that's what you see with a lot of these men. I think sometimes that's one of the reasons that the intactivist movement isn't very successful, is because you have a lot of people who are really hurting, trying to make a change, trying to talk about an issue that's hurt them unimaginably. And on top of that, there's so much sexual repression, it's really hard to talk about it with people. People just don't want to think about it. They just joke about it. They, blow it off, and or get very defensive, and so that makes people even more scared to talk about it, because often you'll get attacked trying to. And I've heard one of my favorite protesters who got me to start protesting was horribly harassed by a surgeon at a hospital, just who you'd think of as a normal everyday guy, and she's out there just holding a sign, circumcision is wrong, and he was like walking around stalking her, like yelling at her and like shouting obscenities for like 45 minutes, and now she's not willing to protest anymore. That's what we have to face on this issue, is some really seriously fucked up mental shit around it. And so it's a really painful issue. A lot of people don't know about it for all of those reasons. It's something that needs to change, that is changing. And historically, people wanted to circumcise to put their babies, make it normal, because most men are circumcised. Well, now, since the rates are falling below 50%, will soon be far below 50%, you're not only mutilating your son's genitals and cutting off the best part of his penis by circumcising him, you are also making it so that he is mutilated and different from everybody else, because very soon no one will be circumcised. Pretty much everyone is going to see this as mutilation. And we need to just stop doing this. We need to talk about it. We need to get the word out there. We need to speak up for foreskin. We need to say that circumcision is wrong, that it's so wrong, that's one of the most wrong things that you can do to a human being, whether male or female or intersex. No child deserves to have their genitals cut. It's one of the worst things you can do to a human being, and I wish that was common sense for people. I can't wrap my head around how people don't understand this, how people are brainwashed into believing that it's okay to cut your child's genitals. It's never okay. And that's why I'm standing up to fight for it and try to find psychological healing for men, as well as a regenerative solution like Foragen, who could hopefully eventually regenerate the human foreskin. But we need a lot more awareness around it. We need a lot more resources and money thrown into these causes to make them succeed. And ultimately, we really just need to stop. We really just need to end circumcision now. And so that's why I make these videos every day. That's why I'm doing the things I'm doing. If you want to support me, or if you want to talk with me, just hit me up, leave a comment. Otherwise, I'll talk to you again tomorrow, guys. Thank you for watching.